Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome everyone to the Islamic Defense Podcast. Today we are joined by none other than Mr. Sam Harris. Sam, can you introduce yourself? Yes, I'm Sam Harris. I'm a neuroscientist. So, Mr. Sam, it is well known that you talk a lot about Islam. So, can you tell us where did you learn so much about Islam? What are you talking about? I'm a neuroscientist. And everyone knows that when you become a neuroscientist, it immediately makes you an authority on Islam. Okay. I'm not sure the Muslims would agree with that, but anyway. So 4 months ago, you had a screaming match with Batman about Islam. So let's take a look at this clip.
We have been sold this meme of Islamophobia. I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people. Islam but why is the motherlode of bad ideas. We have been sold this meme of Islamophobia. I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people.
So this is a contradiction. So which one is it? Is Islamophobia a meme or is it real? Well, I was only talking about when people conflate every criticism of Islam as bigotry towards Muslims as people. Yes, but bigotry towards Muslims as people cannot happen unless they are following Islam. So when you attack Islam, or to be more accurate, strawman Islam, you then by default attack the person who is practicing it. Here's your argument. Premise 1. Islam is a motherload of bad ideas. Premise 2. You cannot call someone a Muslim unless they believe or practice Islam. Premise 3. Therefore, Muslims believe in bad ideas and practice bad things. Conclusion. Therefore, Islam is bad and are inferior to us. Therefore, we must educate and civilize Muslims with our better secular and liberal ideas. How is this not a personal attack on Muslims? How is this not bigotry? According to Oxford Dictionary, bigotry means intolerance towards those who hold a different opinion from oneself. You are being intolerant towards Islam. And by default, you're being intolerant towards Muslims because you are telling them that what they believe in is worthless and inferior and that they must change themselves and assimilate into your culture. That's literally what bigotry is. Also, your argument contradicts the liberal principle of equality and religious freedom. So if a liberal takes issue with your beliefs or arguments, they're completely justified. Also, according to Oxford Dictionary, you are a bigot because you believe this nonsense. Not to mention, your whole argument is using circular reasoning. I mean, what makes you think Islam is a motherload of bad ideas anyway? You showed no justification for this presupposition. Well, look, I know this because I'm a neuroscientist. Also because I learned philosophy from Dalai Lama. No, you didn't. Yes, I have the pictures to prove it. That's not Dalai Lama, that's Vin Diesel. No, it's not. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
See, like this is what I want liberals to understand. That like there are some countries, I think France has banned this. Right. I'm not for banning. I think that's not the right approach, is to tell anybody how they can dress. But also, stop saying that's normal. Well, that's not normal.
So,
If you think that's normal, you are so part of the problem. There is a human being in there who might want to feel the sun on her face or make eye contact or register a smile.
And most are not there voluntarily. That's the thing. I mean, most are not there voluntarily. Most are not there voluntarily.
Okay, I thought you just said you're not bigoted towards Muslims. I'm not. Yet here you are being bigoted towards Muslim women. You said most of the Muslim women who wear the hijab or niqab wear them because they don't have a choice. How do you know that? Which research data did you use to come to that conclusion? Because according to Pew Research, the top 10 countries with the largest Muslim population, only one of them, namely Iran, is the only country where they have a law that enforces women to wear the hijab or niqab. The rest of the 9 or 8 countries where wearing the hijab or niqab is completely optional. As a matter of fact, some of these Muslim countries has become so secular, their secular dicks have gotten so big that they actually banned the burqa In Morocco, for example, Algeria, for example, Turkey, for example, although they have now made it legal for girls to wear hijab in schools, I mean, even in Afghanistan, ever since the rule of Taliban ended in 2001, it is not mandatory for women to wear the hijab or niqab. According to Kiko Itsaka, in his article, Under the Burqa, Lipstick and High Heels, he mentions women mostly wear burqa for security and safety, and they believe for the most part that women should have the right to wear whatever they want. So when you say most Muslim women are forced to wear the hijab or niqab, you're objectively wrong and factually incorrect, based on this research data. Sam Harris. Sam Harris. Sam Harris. Dad, what are you doing here? Son, I am here to protect your atheistic, anti-theistic and secular agenda. Dad, what do I do? He's using facts and logic. Just dodge the questions, ignore the facts, and blame Islam for all the world's problems. That's how you win an argument. Thanks, Dad. Anytime, son. Anytime. Who are you talking to? What? No one. Okay. Let's get back to the video.
Down to who has the right answer here. A billion people, you say. All these billion people don't hold any of their facts. Don't hold these pernicious beliefs. No, that's just not true, Ben. That's just not true. You're trying to say that these few people, that's all the problem is these few bad apples. The idea that someone should be killed if they leave the Islam. That's horrible. You're saying the idea that someone should be killed if they leave the Islamic religion is just a few bad apples. The people who actually believe in that, that you murder somebody, Islam is not the majority of Muslims at all. Okay, let me break it down. As you say, 1.5 Muslims. Now, let me please, we have some circles. We have the center, you have jihadists. These people who wake up in the morning, wanting to kill hostages, wanting to die trying, they believe in paradise, and martyrdom. Outside of them, we have Islamists. These are people who are just convinced of martyrdom and paradise and wanting to voice their religion on the rest of humanity. They want to work within the system, they're not going to blow themselves on a bus, they want to change governments, they want to use democracy against themselves. Those two circles arguably are 20% of the Muslim world. Because it's not a bunch of polls also we can talk about.
So, to give you one point of contact, 78% of British Muslims think that the Danish cartoonist should have been prosecuted. 78%. So I'm being conservative when I roll this back to 20%. But
okay, so here you talk about the Danish cartoonist. You say 78% of British Muslims think that the Danish cartoonist should have been prosecuted. I don't understand what exactly is the issue with this. I mean, isn't this a complete contradiction to your own liberal principles? I mean, you believe in freedom of speech, I imagine, yes? It's a fundamental liberal value to you? Yes. Okay, then why are you criticizing them for voicing their own opinion? I mean, your argument is like this. Premise 1. Give them the right to say whatever they want. Premise 2. They voice their opinion which goes against liberal values. Therefore, you criticize them for going against liberal values. You're committing the fallacy of inconsistency. You're the one who gave them the right to speak whatever they want. And when they do, all of a sudden it's wrong. I mean, you and your liberal principles seems to be suffering from the self-serving bias. Whenever something good happens, like when minorities are able to speak out, or when ex-Muslims are able to criticize the extremists, you say it's a good thing. It happened because of liberalism. But whenever something bad happens, Muslims, they say things you disagree with, all of a sudden it's Islam's fault? I mean, who gave them the right to speak? Your liberal principles did. Liberalism did. So whenever something good happens, it's liberalism, but whenever something bad happens, it's Islam's fault? When Islam has no power in your country? Also, can you explain why it's okay for you to say Islam is a motherload of bad ideas, but it's not okay for the Muslims to say the cartoonist should be sued? Remember, both are protected under freedom of speech. I'm not saying they don't have the right to speak. I'm criticizing their ideas. What idea? They have every right to sue the cartoonist for insulting their faith. Religious freedom, remember? Or does it not matter anymore? Also, doesn't liberalism preach tolerance? How is mocking others' religions tolerant? I have the right to criticize bad ideas. Again, what bad ideas? They're allowed to do this under liberalism. The principles which you yourself uphold. How about instead of playing mental gymnastics, you admit liberalism has fundamental problems? I mean, you can just cherry pick liberal principles and apply them to however it suits you the best. Minorities are able to speak because of freedom of speech. Great. Extremists like Anjum Chowdhury is also able to speak because of freedom of speech. Oh no. But now all of a sudden it's not the fault of freedom of speech, it's the fault of Islam. Why is that?
And they're not given the same level of platform that we see the jihadists.
One reason they don't get exposed is because they're afraid to speak out, because it's the only religion that acts like the mafia, that will fucking kill you if you say the wrong thing, draw the wrong picture, or write the wrong book.
So
Okay, Billy, I'm gonna call Bill Maher Billy here. So Billy over here made a big mistake. He said Islam is the only religion that acts like the mafia. First of all, that's a faulty comparison fallacy, because the mafia isn't a religion or even a philosophy. Islamic jurisprudence acts like a country's constitution because it was at one point a country's constitution. It was the constitution of the Islamic Empire for thousands of years. Also, he is committing the composition fallacy. He is taking a small amounts of things he disagrees with, and he is trying to make it seem like that's all what Islam is about. Islamic Sharia law, or the jurisprudence which the Islamophobes take issue with, are a very small percentage of what Islam actually is. There are more things in Islam that is similar to, in terms of moral values, to the West. For example, being kind to animals, being kind to neighbors, etc., etc. Either way, whatever the case is, it depends on the judge, just like any court of law. However, Christianity will kill you according to the Bible if you say or do the wrong thing. You can find this in Romans chapter 1 verse 23. In the New Testament, it says, "And exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man, and birds and animals and reptiles." And this verse continues until Romans verse number 32, where it says, "Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, so the Bible says those who make images should be killed." So if you make images or statues, you should be killed. Jesus said, "Do not think that I, Jesus, have come to abolish the law of the Old Testament, or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke or pen will by any means disappear from the law, until everything is accomplished." This can be found in Matthew chapter number 5, verse number 17 to 18. So now that Jesus confirms that the laws of the Old Testament, let's take a look at what the Old Testament says about apostasy. Now, this can be found in Deuteronomy. Again, this is a famous Bible verse. Chapter number 13, verse number 6 to 9. It says, "If your own brother, or your son or daughter, or the wife you love, or your closest friend, secretly entices you, saying, 'Let us go and worship other gods that neither your father or my father have known, gods of the people around you, whether near or far, from one end of the land to the other end of the land. Do not yield to him or listen to him. Show him no pity. Do not spare him or shield him. You must certainly put him to death. Your hand must be the first in putting him to death, and then the hands of all the people. So, if anyone lives Christianity, kill them." In Hinduism it says, "O king, make progress in thy duty of administration. Extend happiness to the virtuous, O terrible chastitor. Burn the irreligious foes." This can be found in Yajurveda 13:12. This is translated by Devi Chand, which can be found in the page 138. So the Veda, which is the main holy book of Hinduism, is saying that burn the atheist or apostates. Brilliant. Also, a Hindu scholar writes on this Vedic verse that godly person shall always be ready to kill irreligious people. This can be found in Keshmakanda's Trivedi Aryasami, Atharva Veda 12.562, page number 576. Also, again in Veda 11.221, it says, "Do not covet our cattle, our men, our goats and sheep. Bend thy course elsewhere. O strong god Ugra, slay the offspring Praja of the blasphemers." So if you blaspheme, you should be killed. So kill the children of those who criticize Hindu gods. Brilliant. So as we can see clearly that Billy here is completely uninformed of the brutality that exists in Christianity and Hinduism. Regardless, let's get back to the video.
Yet somehow we're exempted from these things because they're not really a reflection of what we believe in. We did by accident. That's why we made it.
We're not convincing anybody.
It's not because I'm specifically telling you that I disagree with what you think.
I know, and we're obviously not convincing anybody.
You don't understand
the argument is like, black people, they show
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's based on facts. I can show you a Pew poll of Egyptians. They are not outliers in the Muslim world that say like 90% of them believe death is the appropriate response to leaving the religion. If 90% of Brazilians thought that death was the appropriate response to leaving Catholicism, you would think it was a bigger deal.
Now, Billy over here committed the hasty generalization fallacy. Okay, so I've looked at this Pew Research data, and it says that according to Pew Research data, only 2 countries has this majority opinion. Egypt, where over 67 million people agree with the death penalty, and in Pakistan, where 103 million people agree with the death penalty. Now, that's a total of 171 million people who agrees with the death penalty. Now, which is less than 9% of the entire Muslim population, which consists of 1.8 billion people in total. Now, saying all Muslims believe apostates should be killed, when in reality only 9% of them says that they believe in apostasy, does, according to research data, is childish and factually incorrect. Also, according to Pew Research, large majority of Sunni Muslims do not support suicide bombing. Also, Muslims are the most targeted for discrimination, along with Jews in Europe and other secular countries. According to one study, the number of government restrictions on religion has increased by 1.8 to 2.8%. Nationalist parties or organizations played a big role in increasing the role of harassment of religious minorities, especially in Europe, and the majority of the victims of such harassments are Muslims and Jews. What's funny is that most of these countries are secular liberal countries, with the large majority being atheist. Most cases. For example, Czech Republic, which has about 54 to 61% atheist population, Germany with 41 to 49% atheist population, France with being 43 to 54% atheist population, UK being 31 to 44% atheist population, Netherlands being 39 to 44% atheist population, Australia being 24 to 25% atheist population. Now, based on this, can I now say most secular European countries are bigoted towards Muslims as people? Can I now say secularism is a mother lode of bad ideas? That many secular countries are completely bigoted towards religious minorities because of secularism or atheism? Can I now finally say that atheism is a mother lode of bad ideas or anti-theism? Because atheism does give rise to anti-theism. We have seen this with Stalin, we've seen this with Mao, we've seen this with Mussolini and others. And this is exactly the philosophy you're preaching. Because you're not you're not a fucking liberal. You constantly contradict liberal principles. You're not a fucking conservative either, as you constantly promote atheism, which is against conservative values. What you're really doing, what you really are, is a bigoted fascist, anti-theist, who follow the same ideology of Mao and Stalin, who is too afraid to admit that he follows Mao and Stalin. You follow their exact principle to the letter. You support the fascist Zionist Israeli regime. Your pocket is filled with their blood money. Oh, and before you pull the but atheism is just a lack of belief card, I have a meme for you. So with that, I'll conclude this interview. Jazakallahu khairan. Oh, and before you go, Sam, say hi to Dalai Lama for me. Dalai Lama.
سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيم